Hi, I'm Jonah with Sweet Honey Code, and today we are going to do an introduction to CSS. So let's get started. CSS is used to style websites. It actually stands for Cascade Style Sheet. And there are three core ways you can use CSS to style a website. So the first way are declaring an HTML element that you're going to stylize. So we're going to look at this example right here. Here I have indicated that I'm going to style an A tag, which is used in HTML for links. And so by using this format of this is the element, followed by curly brackets and open and close curly brackets, the different rules I mentioned in here will be applied to that tag. So in this instance, I chose the color and a hex code for that color. So what this does, or what this means, is the A tags for a website will be the color black. The next way we can stylize on a website is using what's called a class. The way we can indicate it is a dot and then the name of the class. As I hover over this in my code editor, you can actually see the example showing how this would be declared on a website. We can see there's an element, but the class equals, in quotes, the name of the class without the period. Same thing, we have to wrap in curly brackets the different rules we're going to use for modifying this class. And so the order of the flow is for a website is it's going to look at the selector, which is the element, and then next the class. Technically, for this class, I could change the color and it would actually modify the A tag. So it'll look at the A tag, but then it will look at the class and go, wait, instead of black, it'll become gray. It's cascading down through your style sheet, looking at the different stylings that you're doing. So in this example, I have created this class and said the color will be gray, the position's absolute, the width is 100%, and there's a background color. So everywhere I use this class, it will attempt to apply that to the element. The next way we can modify or style things on our website is using what's called an ID. And that is indicated by using a £. And by hovering over this, we can actually see this example. So we would have an element with an ID equals, in quotes, name of this ID. When we use IDs, it is very specific. So this will take the ultimate authority in terms of styling. And that is because technically an ID should be used only once on a web page when it's loaded. It's really meant for this ID is unique and it's going to take that styling. Versus a class, you can actually have multiple classes on an element. Versus an ID, you can only have one ID. Here, I demonstrated how you can override a color. So I had indicated that I want to take this A tag and make it a color gray. So what would happen here? Well, essentially, not a whole lot, to be fair, because unless that A tag does not contain this class. For every A tag that does not have this class, it's going to look at the black color first, and then as it goes down the hierarchy here, it'll take the gray color code and override it. So then our links will become gray. So what I'm demonstrating here is essentially how you can override a style. So the idea is this. You have a parent styling sheet. That parent styling sheet sets the rules for the entire website, how everything's going to look. Then you have a custom style sheet or a section in that would be for custom. That way, if there's any major website updates, pulls to preserve the custom styling if the website's been designed correctly. Header dash wrapper and then background color, whatever it is I want it to be. There are a lot of different attributes to CSS that it would take a lot of videos to cover. But so with that in mind, I'm definitely going to provide links in the description or on my website to help you learn more about CSS and dive into the different attributes to work with. So if with this styling, if I was able to apply that to the website, it should take that background color and make it a gray. I know it's a lot to take. We want to think about the flow. We have our base, and you can use a class or an ID to override that base. And you can actually go further and find child elements or more classes to override. This is a very crucial thing to master and understand, is this flow, as this leads into the final area of troubleshooting. If you experience that it is not overriding, the chances are where you're writing the change is being loaded at an earlier time. So again, remember, it reads top to bottom. So if this header wrapper was at the top, for example, then it will look at that gray, go on down, wait, there's a transparent color here, and continue. And then you wouldn't see your change. So making sure your changes are at the bottom of the file or loaded last is the most crucial part to ensuring that it's actually going to be loaded. There's one other thing to also know is sometimes on website, you might see a rule say important. What happens in this case is that is going to be a hard rule to override. This is not the best format. It's actually a bad form. However, it's a push to say no matter what happens to this class, do not change this color. So if you're trying everything, you may have to dig and see if for some reason someone's using this important indicator, and it is actually a no-no. So don't adopt that habit if you're developing your own website. So the last thing we would need to do is to save this file. So because I'm doing this on my desktop, that would be Control S, and then I would use the file name.css. If you're editing on a website, you would be editing in a file with a similar extension of .css. Since every website or web platform are different, you may have to do a little bit of research to figure out which .css to edit to make your changes. Let's take a moment to recap, as there's a lot of information here in regards to CSS, and that's the key thing. There is a lot to learn, and even what I'm talking about in this video is just scratching the surface. The key thing is how you write your CSS. You're either using an element, a class, or an ID in general. You're writing a rule between two curly brackets, and then you're declaring the attributes that are going to be the styles. What attributes to use is a bit of an open book, but there are key things that you'll want to use in that regard, which again, there will be resources for. So this concludes this tutorial of the intro to CSS for beginners. I hope this helped your video, and again, be sure to check out the links and resources to continue growing and learning how to use CSS for your website. Be sure to hit like and subscribe and support me on Buy Me a Coffee. Until next time, have a good day. Bye for now.